Hello everybody, welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, we're going to be doing an Ask Me Anything as usual. Give me a thumbs up if the sound is working right. Guys, make sure to use promo code LEVELUP50 off. It's at the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. Make sure to go to jujiclub.com and get 50% off absolutely anything. Guys, I highly recommend the Strong and Stable series, especially Strong and Stable running. Learn how to run properly. Get in the best shape of your life. Strong and stable back, strong and stable knees. And of course, you have incredible grappling and striking videos and also some really great wrestling ones. I just released single leg made simple. It came out super well. It's an amazing video on single leg. You will learn so much about single leg. Guys, I've been studying single leg for over 20 years. That video is jam-packed with powerful wrestling details. Make sure to pick it up. Guys, since we talked last, Donald Trump, he just turned his head. He just turned his head and was grazed by a bullet, which I can't believe. Totally blows my mind. And he's obviously a big fight fan. He's at the UFC all the time. The bullet was traveling. The bullet was about to hit him in the back of the head, just right here. And he turned his head. And then, whew, it shaved his ear. Guys, if he didn't turn his head, it would have hit him. It would have probably killed him. Total mind blow, guys. I know everybody's going to ask me about Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards this weekend coming up. Next weekend. Guys, I can't comment on the fight. I'll tell you why. I know both individuals, and I'm going to be at the fight. So I don't want to bump into the guy who I didn't pick, okay? And I know I'm going to bump into them. I know I'm going to see them before the fight. So I'm just going to be completely neutral on that. I think it's going to be a crazy fight. It's going to be a very competitive fight. I'm going to be there. I can't wait to be there, guys. I'm coming to Manchester. I can't wait to see you all in Manchester. I go to England about once a year, roughly, not less than that. Okay, it's rare I don't go to England every year. Okay, it's very rare I miss a year. But however, I am going to England, and I'm looking forward to seeing all my friends in England. However, I have no call on this fight. For me, I'm calling it 50-50, guys. I can't make a call. It is going to be a brutal fight. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be incredible. Guys, ask me on any other fight. I'm all in, okay? Just not that fight. That's the one fight I just can't give an opinion about. I'm divided. I'm too divided. Okay, guys, with that said, let's talk about MMA, fitness, training, and then we can open up the door to all that crazy stuff we always talk about, okay? Tom Aspinal versus Curtis Blades rematch will be intriguing as well. That's some Harmon. Guys, right now I think Tom Aspinal's probably... He can't be beat other than by, and I think, John Jones. And a lot of people think John Jones will lose to Tom Aspinal. I don't, okay? I think John would beat Tom Aspinal. I really do. If you guys... You want my opinion? I think John Jones would beat him. Now, it's not an easy fight. Of course not, but he would beat him. Do ankle picks work in MMA? Yes, but it's really difficult to lower yourself that low. You know, you can get kneed in the head. You can get guillotined. You can get in all sorts of trouble. Do I ever use ankle pick in MMA? Only in one particular instance where I do uchimata and then I ankle pick off the uchimata. Okay, this is very typical. I have it in my overhooks made easy. Go check out jujiclub.com. I have a video on overhooks. It's probably the best video on overhooks. I've done so much research on overhooks, and I'm telling you, none of the videos out there were really any good. Okay, so after years of training with so many great wrestlers, I kind of made a compilation of techniques from overhook. And I'll tell you something, overhook to uchimata. From uchimata, I do ankle pick. I do it all the time. It's a phenomenal move. It's highly used in wrestling. You see it all the time. That's the one time I will use ankle pick. I have a shoulder impingement from a kimura. Been out of the gym for 3 months. Any advice? Hope to train at your gym someday in the future. That's from Donald Hughes. Guys, shoulder injuries, you know, they're brutal. Okay, I do shoulder exercises on a regular basis every day. Like, check out Strong and Stable Shoulders, guys. I can't talk about it too long because we've done this so many times. There was a whole plethora. I like to use the sledgehammer because the sledgehammer is... the weight is not it's like using a mace, okay? But instead of buying a mace, I just buy a sledgehammer for $20 and I use it, okay? It's very good for stabilizer work. The shoulder is the most mobile joint in your entire body, okay? You have to work every range. There is no bad exercise. They're all good. rotator cuff exercises. I use stretch bands as well. I use a broomstick to stretch my shoulders. I take good care of my shoulders. I have really, really good flexible shoulders. Okay, my shoulders are super mobile. I do shoulder exercises on a regular basis all the time. Okay, keep your shoulders healthy. It's super important. There's so much content in strong and stable shoulders, but I can't go over it now. Salam, coach, do you have a strong and stable hips, or is it included in strong and stable back? Question mark. May Allah reward you. Jazakallahu khair shif. No, I don't have a strong and stable hips. I will eventually release a strong and stable hips. Hips is another animal, but I will tell you, strong and stable knees, I teach you how to stand on the ball. The standing on the ball, in my opinion, is the best thing for hips. Okay, I'll tell you one thing about hips. Okay, I, of course, follow a lot of Kelly Starrett's content, and he does a lot of what we call band distractions. Okay, I'm putting that in quotes because he kind of coined that term. Okay, I've never heard that term anywhere else. I think it originates from him. I might be wrong on that, but I've never heard anybody use that term. Okay, so basically, you tie a band to your hip, you walk away from the band so you get that stretch reflex, and then you go down into a stretch. So it's basically the band is pulling your hips out of the socket gently. Okay, and that's supposed to create some kind of mobility, increased mobility. I personally found that exercise to make my hips worse. So I had hip pain, of course. You know, I'm wrestling every day. Sooner or later, you're going to have hip pain, of course. I play a lot of guard, so my hips are starting to hurt. And then I started to do the band distractions, and I found it to make it worse. So a lot of the guys in my gym, I told them, don't do band distractions on the hips. Just like, give it a break. What happened? A lot of the guys, I think, started feeling better. Like, I tell that to the guys all the time. They have hip problems. I see them doing the band distractions. I'm always recommending to people to do supple leopard. That's the one thing I disagree with Kelly Starrett on. It's the one thing I find that worsened my hips personally. Now, there's no double-blind study on this, so I can't say this with complete confidence. I'm just telling you guys, in my experience, I took that out, okay, because I found that it was doing more harm than good. And I know guys who use the band distractions all the time, and they have good their hips go back and forth. Sometimes they feel good, sometimes they don't feel good. Personally, when I took it out, my hips went back to feeling really good. What fixed my hips was standing and squatting on the ball. Just try to stand up on the ball, but you need the progressions. Okay, so you start on your knees. I showed in strong and stable knees. You build to 1 foot. Eventually, you're standing. Then you're squatting. Squatting on the stability ball will wake up every little strand of muscle in your hips. I'll tell you one really strange thing that most people don't know. A fiber muscle is either activated or it's not. It's either activated or it's not. So if your body wants to create more force, it recruits more muscle fibers. It turns them on or it turns them off. It doesn't fluctuate in intensity. The muscular contraction is increased by recruiting more muscle fibers. So when you're standing on the stability ball, because it's so, this is my explanation, okay? This is just my narrative. It creates such stimulus, such a strange stimulus, because your body's not used to being so unstable, that every muscle fiber sooner or later is going to be stimulated or recruited, because your body's kind of just balancing. It's turning muscles on, turning muscles off, trying not to fall off the ball. And also, one major plus for the stability ball is they have studies where they measure your flexibility directly after a stability ball. So they have subjects measure the stability, then work the stability ball. They have subjects measure their flexibility, then they make them work with the stability ball, and their flexibility directly, immediately increases. Why? The study basically explained that when you're falling, when your body thinks you're falling, it lets your body go limp. Okay, so you see when guys get knocked out, they go limp. Sometimes they stiffen up, but sometimes they go completely limp. When your body thinks you're falling, it triggers a reflex to let your body go limp. Why? Because it protects you from getting more injured. Okay, so if you're stiff and you fall, your arm will break. Your arm will break because the falling. If the muscle is flexible, it bends with the force, right? It bends with the force. It absorbs the force instead of resisting completely and having your shoulder or whatever joint shatter or break. Okay, so there is a reflex that's triggered when you're off balance. Your body thinks you're about to fall, and it relaxes the system. A lot of your pain is tight muscles. Don't forget, Kelly Starrett says two things. The two major things that cause pain is one, being unaligned The second is tight muscles. The stability ball is also extremely therapeutic. Okay, so I highly, highly recommend you guys integrate the stability ball in your training. How does one become as articulate as you? When you read philosophy, do you... it skipped on me. When you read philosophy, do you take notes? Question mark. That's from Najid. Najid, I do take notes. Okay, now I'll tell you something. I'm a note taker. I believe in taking notes. However, taking notes, I rarely reread my notes. I will read my notes sometimes. However, just the activity of taking the notes, you organize your thoughts, and the fact that you typed it down or you wrote it down will greatly increase your ability to organize your thoughts and retain the information. Okay, so it will greatly increase your ability to organize your thoughts and retain information. Taking notes is very important. Now, I also make a lot of mnemonics. Okay, so I'm not going to get into mnemonics now, but I highly recommend you guys study mnemonics. How, there are world champions in memory. There are memory games, okay? They call it brain games, memory games, and competitions, memory competitions. And you have world champions. You have the guys who are world champions, U.S. champions, and they give you courses on how to memorize things, okay? How to memorize a deck of cards, how to memorize your grocery list, how to memorize books, how to memorize a table of content, how to memorize anything, absolutely anything, okay? So I personally have a very strange memory, okay? It's really strange because sometimes I can remember things like it's unbelievable. Like I'll remember, especially when it comes to like martial arts stuff, I just like, it sticks to me. I can remember who did it in one fight. I can remember who taught it to me. Like if I learned the move, I'll tell you, oh, well, the first guy to show it to me was so-and-so. And I seen it in this fight, that fight, this fight, that fight. And like I'll throw it at you like that. Like I just know the move so well. It's rare I know a move and I forgot who taught it to me. I usually, most of the time, remember who taught it to me. And I'll immediately tell you what fights I've seen it in. However, there's so many things I forget. It's insane. Like I have a trouble with names sometimes. But also, you have to remember, I learned a lot of new names. Every day I learn somebody's name. Some new guy walks in the gym, gives me his name. So I do my best. I use mnemonics to remember my people's names, etc. But I get so many names thrown at me that it's actually quite tough to remember them all. Now, I've met like really like famous people, and one of them was I've met royalty. I've met royalty, and I couldn't believe that this person who's royalty must meet. He meets people all over the world all the time. He was able to retain my name. I couldn't believe it. And he doesn't know anything. He's not a fan of MMA or anything like that. He's not like a big fan of MMA. But he was so sharp. This person was so sharp. He was able to remember my name after meeting me once or twice. And then he saw me again months later. And he was like, oh, I know your name. It's incredible how some people have incredible... I'm fascinated with memory. I'm very fascinated with memory because I'm hot and cold. Sometimes I remember things like the inside and out of, like, especially when I read books, like I really retain them well. However, there's certain things like just slip my mind. I have to make a mnemonic. I have to do it over and over again. I don't know why, but I'm hot and cold with it. And I'm fascinated with memory. The memory Olympics, the memory games that they play, the memory championships, I'm fascinated. There's one memory world champion. He was able to recite pi to 1,000 digits after hearing it only once. Think about it. It's insane. It's insane. They do something called the mind palace. It's absolutely insane. And I'm a big fan of memory also because Socrates used to hate books. He's like, no books. I'm going to give you a lesson and you're going to memorize it. He thought books were a crutch. Like if you use books to learn, you're never going to be educated. I totally disagree with Socrates, even though I admire him greatly. I think he was out to lunch on this one. I think it was crazy. Imagine if we didn't have books, we would have lost so much of mankind's knowledge. We would have lost so much knowledge. Like we discovered ancient books and it revived certain sciences, certain subjects. If people didn't take the pain to write it down, I don't think mankind would be where it is today. So on that front, I think he was wrong. However, I think he was onto something. I wish when I was young, like I make my kids learn mnemonics, okay? I wish when I was young, not only they sent me to school, but they made me do an hour of mnemonics a day. Like it would have been, school would have been so easy. I just sit in the test, I memorize the book, I read the lesson once. And I'll tell you why it would become so easy, because they have the technique called mind palace, okay? They make a palace inside their mind. It's actually quite brilliant, okay? Imagine your house, okay? Take a look at your house, okay? You know your house by heart. You live in your living room, you live in your bedroom, you live in your kitchen. You know this space, okay? So what they do is they make stations, okay? So there's different ways to go about it, okay? One guy, Ron White, does it well. He's an American memory champion. I really like his program. He has actually a really good website, etc. Check out Ron White, guys. He's a really, really good trainer in mnemonics. And he says, look, when you picture a room, okay, so you have your living room, you have your kitchen, you have your dining room, you have your bedroom, you have your basement, you have all these different rooms, okay? In each room, I want you guys to put 5 objects in each room, okay? Now, there's 4 corners in each room, and there's a center. Think about a dice, the number 5 on the dice. There's every room starts from the right corner, then the other right corner, then the left corner, then the next left corner, and then the middle. So you have the same sequence. You're going counterclockwise in every room. So if you have to remember a list of whatever it may be, okay, so I teach my kids all sorts of lessons. I make a list, and they have to memorize the list. Okay, so let's say I make them memorize foods I want them to eat, healthy foods. What's a healthy food? How should they organize their diet, etc.? Okay, well, the first item is this. Let's say it's chicken breast. Okay, chicken breast is really important. Chicken breast is high in protein, low in fat, etc. Okay, the first station is chicken breast. Okay, so you're gonna picture a chicken. You're gonna picture a muscular chicken. They make it animated. They tell you the more wacky it is, the more senses it stimulates: sight, hearing, taste, smell, etc. touch. The more it has, the more you'll remember it. Okay, what's the next most important thing? Well, I'll tell them, let's say it's egg whites. Okay, I have a list for them. I want them to eat egg whites. Okay, so egg whites is really important. Okay, so you're going to see, just eggs. Eggs are white, so it makes sense. Egg white, you're going to remember egg whites, etc. Then let's say number 3, okay, we have shrimp. I want them to eat shrimp. Seafood's important. It's very healthy, etc. Okay, so they're going to picture shrimp in this corner of the house. When you go through your mind palace, when you walk around your house, you remember these stations, and they find a way to connect all the items together. It's brilliant. These people are so brilliant. So guys like Dominic O'Brien, 10-time world champion memory, he has a mind palace where it's over 1,000 spaces, organized spaces. He'll hear a number 1, and he'll hear a 1,000 digit number once and remember it. So how does he do that? Every number is an image. Okay, so give me a number. Give me any 2-digit number. Somebody out there, give me any 2-digit number. Okay, 34. Okay, so Insomnia says 34. Guys, I'm gonna just do 34. 34, 3 is an M. Okay, so this is called the major system. Okay. Dominic O'Brien doesn't use the major system. He has another system. Okay, but I don't use his system. I use Ron White's system. Ron White uses the major system. I prefer the major system. Okay. M3, the letter 3 is M. Why is it the letter M? Because if you turn the 3 upside down, like sideways, it's going to make the letter M, right? And 4 is the letter R. Why is the letter 4 R? Because 4 R, you have 4, the last letter in 4 is R. So you have an M and an R. Now you got to make a word with M and R. So my word for M and R, which is 34, is a mare. A mare. Okay, so a female horse is a mare. I see a female horse, so I picture a pink horse. A pink horse is my image for the number 34. So if you tell him 34, he's going to picture a pink horse. For him, 34 is always will be a pink horse. And then they connect images because they say human beings remember images and not abstract numbers or shapes. Okay, abstract numbers are very difficult for the human mind to remember. So for him, when you pop off those numbers, he's making images, and with those images, he's going to kind of make a story, or he's going to place them in his mind palace. And in his mind palace, he's going to kind of make a story. The story is so unique, so wacky that he can't forget it. It's so absurd and odd. And This is the basics of how they memorize such incredible amount of content. What's mind-blowing is the guy heard a 1,000 digit number. If you ask him, hey, what's the 874th number? Well, he's going to go in his mind palace at section 874, and he'll tell you, well, the number 874 is this particular number. So he can tell you not only in order, but if you ask him to give it to you backwards, he'll give it to you backwards. If you ask him to start at the 705th number, he'll start at the 705th number. Like, it's basically like he's turning his mind into a computer. It's fascinating. The guy, Dominic O'Brien, was actually really bad at school. He was dyslexic. He had many problems cognitively. So he threw himself into the study of memory, and he became one of the most sharpest human beings in human history. He started off as a dyslexic guy who was like, can't do good in school. And now you can give him a newspaper, he'll read it in 20 minutes, and then he'll tell you page by page what's on it. If you ask him, hey, what's on page 4? What's the third paragraph about? He'll pop it off. He'll tell you all about it. It's insane how sharp this man is. It's really incredibly insane. Now, if you have kids, I personally would tell you, teach them chess. Chess is great. And also teach them the art of mnemonics. It's a phenomenal gift. I started mnemonics very late in life. I wish they taught me to read. I wish they taught me math. And I wish they forced me into mnemonics. Like, they just made me bite the bullet and just made me a mnemonics master. That would have been a huge favor they would have done for me. I trained too hard and got burned out. I jumped rope till I got fractures in my feet. I limp for almost a year. That's from Trevor. Trevor, for almost a year, that's impossible. Okay, that's really crazy. You need to go see a doctor. There's something really wrong with your foot. It's not because you jumped rope. Okay, I don't care how much you jump rope. You won't be. The recovery process does not take a year. Okay, there's something horribly wrong. Go see a doctor, because it cannot be the case that you jump rope really hard and got burned out. Like, it's just not for a year. Okay, that would be ridiculous. Hey, coach, what is the best way to program hill sprints for BJJ and or MMA? Question mark. That's from Buckshot Barber. Guys, I always do super chats and non-super chats. Look, I've studied so much on intervals. Okay, how they do intervals, what's the best intervals. At the end of the day, the best intervals is the one you're not doing. Okay, that's really what it is. So is 20-10, 20 on, 10 seconds off. Repeat that for 4 minutes. Good? Yes, it's good. That's a Tabata, okay? How about 3 minutes on, 3-minute break, and repeat that 3 times? That's also good. Studies show that they all give benefit. Now, sometimes studies will show one formula gave more than another. And I agree. Some formulas are better. Okay, some formulas are better. But the only reason it gives you more is because you're not used to it. Once you get used to, let's say we're doing 3 minutes off, 3 minutes of full out running, 3 minutes rest, and repeat 3 times. Okay, why are we resting 3 minutes? Because we want to fully recharge so we can hit it with higher intensity. After a while, my body will adapt to such a schema. Okay, I gotta change the schema. Okay, so in strong and stable running, I talk about different ways of doing it. I like to do it in all sorts of ways. I try every type of interval under the sun. I think they all work. I think they're all very good. You just don't want to do the same one for too long. Okay, so that's my opinion. Just keep changing them up. I do all sorts of intervals, all sorts. And I feel like the one I haven't done in a long time, that's the one that gives me the most return. Coach, do you have any fighters who suffer from trauma and anxiety, and what advice do you give them, even BJJ competitors? Thank you. That's from Undefeated Undisputed. Well, of course, Mr. Undefeated Undisputed, as you call yourself. Of course, I have fighters with all sorts of, anxiety. Of course, think about professional fighting, man. You're out there in front of millions of people who are watching you, and you're fighting full force, full contact. It's a very scary endeavor. Now, look, I use a lot of tactics. It depends on the individual. I assess the individual, and I will usually tailor it to the individual. But I'm a big believer in controlling your breath. Breathing exercises is very good for calming the mind. Okay, the human body has 2 systems. He has the parasympathetic system and the sympathetic system. Sympathetic system is when you're agitated. You're agitated. Somebody angered you. Maybe you were frightened. Maybe you watched a suspenseful movie and you're on edge, and then you're like, oh, I'm like super anxious. And the parasympathetic system is, well, that's when you're going to sleep, when you're really mellow and you're relaxed. You need to go in the parasympathetic system to fall asleep. You can't fall asleep in the sympathetic system. You cannot. You have to transition to the parasympathetic system. The parasympathetic system, you're feeling calm, relaxed. You're feeling at ease. You're not agitated emotionally, etc. Now, how do you get into a parasympathetic state? I highly believe one of the best and most effective ways is to control your breath. Okay, there's a lot of different ways to breathe. There's a lot of breathing exercises. Let me give you one. Okay, start with exhaling fully. You exhale fully. You slowly exhale all the air out of your body. Exhale fully. When you exhale fully and there's no more air in your stomach, hold your breath. Why are we doing that? Because we want to starve our body of oxygen. Okay. When you starve your body of oxygen, you've exhaled completely and you starve your body of oxygen, get ready for your body to give a very get ready for your body to take the deepest inhalation your body can take. Your body's going to breathe well. If you look at a newborn baby, they all belly breathe. They all breathe from the belly. Okay, they extend the belly to a maximum level. Most people, adults, I would say, breathe through their chest because they're anxious. We all hold this anxiety in us. So we're always breathing through our chest. We're shallow breathers, okay, which is really, really bad. You want to breathe through the gut. Now, I'm telling you, I was once with George's therapist and he asked me to take a deep breath. And I took a deep breath. He's like, you're the first guy I've ever seen do it correctly. I swear to you, he's like, you're the first one I ever saw take a deep breath correctly. Well, I've been doing breathing exercises for a very long time. Okay, so start with an exhalation. Once you exhale, hold your breath for about 80% of your capability. You don't have to starve yourself. Just, it's gotta hurt. Okay, it's gotta hurt. Then I want you to inhale one inhalation, and then I want you to hold your breath. I want you to hold your breath for 80% of your capability. Roughly 80, guys. It's got to be uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to kill you. And then repeat the cycle. So when you hold your breath, then you exhale, you hold, you inhale, you hold, you exhale, you hold, and you start going a little bit past 80. 82% of your maximum, 85% of your maximum, 95% of your maximum, 98 will do it. Okay, then you take a break and you breathe normally, and you're gonna feel very mellow. You're gonna feel very mellow. You're gonna feel, oh, I'm pretty sleepy, man. I'm pretty chillaxed. I'm pretty calm. Now that's one way to calm yourself. Okay, that's just one way. There are many other ways. I recommend you guys look up parasympathetic breathing exercises. How many hours of a week of just grappling should an inspiring jiu-jitsu athlete do? That's from Idris. As much as you can do without injuring yourself. Guys, the whole key of getting really good is being consistent and don't injure yourself. Train as much as you can without injuring yourself. That's why I really think you have to do conditioning. Like after practice, you guys should do some kind of conditioning. Abs, neck, shoulders. Don't just warm up, do technique, roll, and head home. No. You have to do some conditioning. If you don't do conditioning after practice, you will eventually get injured. Do you think there's beauty and validity in the teachings of Steven Seagal? That's from Chucky. Chucky, my dear Chucky, Seagal is I don't think he could defend himself in a real fight. Like, I think it's all theater. Theater. If it works, why don't they do it in the octagon, man? Like, if it works, why don't they do it in the octagon? I just don't think it's effective. I haven't been convinced yet. Now, okay, maybe if it comes down to guns and knife disarmament, maybe, but I'd have to see it. For me to believe, I'd have to see it done with a rubber gun, a rubber knife, and it's not choreographed. Okay, give me a knife and a gun, and let me go pow pow towards you, and like I'll give you like a 2-second start, to grab it out of my hand. Let's see if it really works. Like, of course you would have to do it in a safe environment, but I'm just not convinced until I see it until I see it happen live. I'm putting it in the plausible, but I'm not convinced yet because I haven't seen it. You think Oliveira's BJJ from guard works in MMA better than Kron Gracie and other because Charles simply has the longer limbs, and longer limbs are the difference for BJJ guard players succeeding in MMA to the highest level? That's from Drew Mack. No, I don't think that's the case. Okay, I don't think that's the case at all. You could be very effective in jiu-jitsu whether you have long limbs or not. There's pros and cons for both body types. Marcelo Garcia didn't have the longest limbs, but I'll tell you something. He has one of the most powerful guards I've ever personally trained with, and he's arguably the greatest grappler of all time. I've trained with that man. Believe me, his guard was incredible. Like, what can I tell you, man? Like, I don't know. How do I describe his guard? Like, he would sweep me, and I felt like I was getting thrown by a judo guy who weighed 50 pounds heavier than me, like 100 pounds heavier than me. Like, that's how much velocity he gets in his throws. Like, he's from the floor. Like, he's not standing up and throwing you with his hip. He's on the ground throwing it. It's incredible, the velocity, the power he generates. But, of course, he's very technical. He's getting in a technical position. He's positioning himself in such a way that he can increase leverage, and the power he generates from his sweeps is ridiculous. And a lot of people think it's because he has short limbs that butterfly guard works so well for him. Okay, so some people believe that if you have longer limbs in butterfly guard, it doesn't work as well. Now, he doesn't think that. I was talking to him. He's like, oh, people think my style is because of my body type. It's not true. I don't think that. I think it's partially true. I think tall guys can have very good butterfly guard. However, if you're short, I think it's less pressure against your own lever, so therefore you're going to have more leverage. I think butterfly guard works really well for shorter guys. However, I wouldn't shock me to see a tall guy with really good butterfly guard. It wouldn't shock me. However, I just think there's a little bit more positive for the shorter guy. Now, taller guys obviously are going to be better at triangles. They're going to be better at katakatami, at Dars, etc. They're going to have their advantages. You know, I've trained with Braulio Estima for a long time. He has great triangles. He has long legs. He has crazy long legs. Like, Marcelo was also good at triangles, but not like Braulio. You know, they both gravitated to what works for them. I think Oliveira's success, why his guard was so much better, is because people didn't want him standing back up. Whereas in Kron, if you're in his guard, you're going to fully shut down. You don't want this guy taking any of your limbs, so you're going to block the inside. Like, you're going to be really, really careful. And the second he opens his guard to do anything, you're going to get up. Okay, not the case with Oliveira. Some people don't want Oliveira standing up. If Kron had Oliveira striking, the knees, the elbows, the high kicks, the punching, the powerful left hook, the kicks to the body, if Kron was a threat standing up, people would want to hold him down, then they would get subbed. Don't forget, grappling, jiu-jitsu is a lot of counterattacks. If he does this, then I'm going to do that. If he does this, then I'm going to do that. It's a lot of computing going on. So if the guy does nothing and he's holding on for dear life and he's just like waiting for me to open my guard, I'm going to get up and get out. It's hard to do anything against that. Okay, so it's just because he has no striking. Love you, coach, from all my heart. Me and my 3 friends are all in debt to you. That's from M. Shari Humrani. Well, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. That's very sweet of you. I'm not sure why, but merci beaucoup. Yo, I didn't know you were live like this. Huge support from me. That's from Vito. Wow. Thank you very, very much, Vito. Wow, I'm getting a lot of love today. Wow, I wish I would come home and my wife would treat me this good. I wish she was as enthusiastic to have me in her presence. Thank you, guys. Very sweet. I appreciate it. Merci beaucoup. Somebody mute Choo Choo. I don't know who that is. What MMA should I start my 4-year-old son with to make him a beast when he's older? At what age can I put him in a program? Look, I would start him, if he's 4 years old, I would say do gymnastics. And then 6, 7 years old, 9 years old, start wrestling and jiu-jitsu. You don't want any impact to the head, so you can hire him a trainer to hold pads for him, kick the bag, etc. Learn kickboxing, but I really believe you should not do any strikes to the head at a young age. Okay, I think in my experience, I've seen people who fight and train at a young age, take shots to the head. A lot of them have problems with aggression. A lot of them have cognitive issues. Okay, so in my opinion, this is just my opinion. Okay, there's no studies on this, but I'll tell you something. I know guys who've been fighting since they're 6 years old, 7 years old, taking shots to the head. I feel that they all have a common thread. And not all of them. Some of them have, different fighting styles. They don't take that many shots. However, nonetheless, I really don't think you should even take the risk of taking blows to the developing brain. Don't even take the risk. There's nothing worth it. There's nothing that's worth it to impair him, even possibly cognitively. Okay, there's no hard study because it would be unethical to take twins and beat one in the head and not the other and see if there's a difference. It would be obviously unethical. I'm just telling you from my observation. And if you go to Thailand, what happens to them when they retire? A lot of them become alcoholics. Now, some people are going to say it's probably due to a different cause. I personally think it's because they took a lot of shots to the head at a young age. Maybe also they don't have the thrill of being in the ring anymore, so everything else is kind of boring. There could be other causes, guys. I'm not going to tell you no. But believe me, I've known countless professionals that fought at a young age. Countless. I can't count how many I've hung out with, trained with. No. I would tell you, don't even risk it. I didn't start boxing until I was 20. And my cognitive abilities had matured already. I didn't take shots to the head when I was young. And in my opinion, it may be a very considerable factor. I'm just saying, don't even risk it. Do the drills, hit the pads. Like I make my sons do a lot of drills. I let them touch spar a little bit now they're older, but I don't let them do full sparring. I don't want none of that. I let them do wrestling. I let them do jiu-jitsu. I let them do their conditioning. And then they hit the bag and they do their boxing workouts or whatnot. And I don't even do a lot of striking with them. I just think they really got to focus on wrestling and jiu-jitsu. And then later on, we'll really hit a patch of striking later on. So that's just my opinion. Guys, I want to throw you guys a curveball. I actually, I was actually, before I started the podcast, I was about to watch this fight. And it's called, hold on a second. What's it called? It's called Streetbeefs Street Beef title match, Baby Hulk versus Viking. I was like, you know what? Let me not watch this by myself. Let me watch this with the boys. And I say the boys because we're 99% men in the chat. Okay, so YouTube tells me my audience is 99% men. Guys, I'm going to play this right now. Hopefully it's going to be fun and you guys are going to enjoy it along with me. I haven't seen this fight, okay? I was about to watch it. I was like, oh, it's a viral video. Let me see what this is about. The guy on the left is Baby Hulk, obviously, and the guy on the right is Viking. Let's see what happens. Guys, I have not seen this fight yet, okay? Oh! Viking with some long distance kicks. Viking wasn't born yesterday. He's a smart guy. Why can't we see his head? Ooh, body lock. Here we go. Baby Hulk. Speaking of long versus short, we're talking about recently. Oh, Baby Hulk. Oh, he's pretty flexible, the Viking. Ooh. Triangle. These guys, how could these guys be the same weight? I don't think they weigh these guys. Triangle. Guys, we're just saying tall guys love triangle. Here we go, man. There's a triangle right there. Woo. Baby Hulk's in the lead. I have no idea if there's rounds. I have, honestly no idea. All right, Baby Hulk's like, get up. Look at this. Look at the size difference. This is unbelievable. Ooh, Viking with the kicks. Oh, Viking. Oh, goodness gracious. Baby Hulk with the overhand left and right. Oof. Shots behind the head. Knee to the body. Damn. This got to be over. Come on, man. End this. Come on. This has got to be over. Oh, look at that. They do have rounds. They do have rounds. Look at that. Ooh. Baby Hulk. I love the nickname. Man, Viking has no takedown defense at all. It's just zero. His whole thing is I'm going to pull guard if he shoots. Guys, I got to say I'm a fan of Baby Hulk. Shit. Oh my goodness, man. It's over. Come on, stop this fight, man. This is crazy. He's done, man. Baby Hulk wins. Goodness gracious. Oh, look at that. Baby Hulk's a respectful man.
Good fight, gentlemen.
It was a title shot.
Winner and new old microwave champion. You know where it goes. Good fight, guys. Good fight.
Oh my God. Baby Hulk's a monster. Guys, shout out to Baby Hulk. What can I say, man? The man's a beast. If Baby Hulk ever wants to come train at TriStar Gym, the door is wide open. All right, guys. That was fun. I was about to watch it right before jumping on here just to kind of like pump myself up. Or just like kind of entertain myself. And I was like, you know what? Let me watch it with the guys. I trained too hard. Got burnt out. Okay, no. We did that one already. How do we differentiate chemical states from spiritual states? ? If drugs can alter a person's emotion / mind, are they just as powerful as the soul? ? That's from MF James. Guys, do you even understand his question? That's a pretty deep question, guys. He just like came in the chat room and deposited he detonated like a nuke. It's like, here, let me leave this nuke right here. Let me detonate in the next 3 seconds. I'm going to read that again, okay? He's asking a very profound question. Let's try to wrap our minds around it. I'm going to give you a nice little answer, okay? How do we differentiate between chemical states from spiritual states? Materialistic atheists generally say that the world is only chemistry and physics. That's it. That's all the world is. All of existence is chemistry and physics. Now, not all atheists are going to agree to this, but there's quite a consensus in the atheistic world that the entire universe, all of existence, boils down to chemistry and physics. And that those two things are pretty much the same thing anyway. Okay? We could explain everything via chemistry and physics. Okay? Now, how do we differentiate chemical states from spiritual states? ? If drugs can alter a person's emotion / mind, if drugs can alter the emotion, the spiritual side, the mind, which you call spiritual, which you call mind, are they just as powerful as the soul? ? Now, the last part of your statement, I think was a bit kind of like, I'm going to cut you some slack here, okay, but it wasn't accurate enough. Look, if I give you a chemical and it changes your mind / soul, whatever that woo is between your ears that you think exists, it's not chemistry. Doesn't it make it chemistry? Isn't it subject to chemistry? Doesn't it bow down? Doesn't it prove that chemistry can go inside your soul and move things around? This is false because you're presupposing something. Now, I'm going to explain it to you in the simplest way possible. But you're going to have to do a thought experiment with me. You guys know me. I'm huge on thought experiments. Instead of me giving you a boring, logical answer that half the chat room won't understand, I'm going to give you a thought experiment. And the thought experiment is so much better. I got to tell you something. I've done a lot of classes in logic. And I got to tell you, logic is boring, guys. I know I try to make it sound exciting. It's boring. If you ever did a logics class, chew chalk. Go buy a box of chalk and just chew that. And it's like, that's what it is. It's no more exciting than a math class. It's boring. Now, I'm fascinated with logic. I'm fascinated with mathematics, yes. However, some of the lessons were painstakingly miserable. I'm going to try to make it more fun for you, okay? And I do that with thought experiments. And I think, I'm kind of putting it together. I think a lot of my thought experiments comes from my training in mnemonics. Making pictures. Pictures are better than abstract words. But let's not go on a tangent here, okay? Imagine me and you were in a dream. Just imagine it for a second. And in the dream, I give you this pill. And this pill is going to make you hallucinate. It's LSD, let's say. And you pop the pill and you have this illusion and you're like, oh man, that pill affected my psyche. That chemical pill, that physical pill it affected my psyche. So you have the brain and then you have the psyche inside the brain. You have the brain, then you have the mind. If the pill can affect the brain and that affects the mind, then the mind must be dependent on the brain. Because the brain is chemistry and physics. If I alter the chemistry and physics, I'm also alternating, I'm also affecting the mind. That's what they're trying to say. That all rests on a presupposition. What's the presupposition? Well, let's look at that thought experiment. Imagine a dream state. We're in a dream state. I give you a pill. That pill makes you hallucinate. But then you realize, hey, wait a second, I'm in a dream. That pill was also a dream. It wasn't actually material. That pill was also part of the dream. It was an idea that affected an idea, not a pill that affected an idea, not a concrete materialistic object that affected an idea. It was one idea affecting another. So now let's pop back into our world right now. I'm telling you that pill is also psyche. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They presuppose materialism. They presuppose it. Listen, let me tell you guys something about philosophy. There has never in the history of the world of logic, ever, and neither in the history of science, and I know a lot of you are going to object to this, but you're wrong. I'm telling you, you're deadly wrong on this. Okay? 100% wrong. We have never been able to prove material. We always presuppose material. We always infer material. We never see matter. You never see matter. I'm going to explain, okay? You walk out in the park and you see a car, you see a tree, you see a fire hydrant, you see a guy on a bicycle, you see somebody walking their dog, you look over here, you see a sewer, you see an asphalt street, and you're like, all these things have something in common. What do they have in common? Matter. And I'm like, okay, well, show me this matter stuff. I just want to see it, but I don't want to see it in any of these forms, like a tree, a cloud, or like a car. No, show it to me like in its raw form. And you're like, well, I never seen it either like that. I'm inferring from all these objects I'm looking at that they're made of this thing called matter. But we never see matter. What we see is cars, trees, etc. We infer that there's matter. We infer matter. We never directly observe matter. Now, I'm a nominalist. I don't believe in anything that I don't observe directly. I doubt everything that I don't observe directly, and I also think that the things that we infer are coming out of our mind. It's not only me, okay? Many great philosophers said this long before me, okay? Kant says basically it's a projection of the mind. I can name you all sorts of philosophers who agree to this, okay? All sorts. And oftentimes it's referred to as idealism, okay? These things are from our mind. They're coming from our mind into the world. Not only are we observing reality, but we're creating reality. Reality is what we observe and also how we're creating it from our inside of our minds. And one thing that comes out of our minds, and it's not found in the world, is material. There is no way to ever know material. And I could talk to you about this for hours, okay? But I'll tell you something. It's materialist atheist philosophers that dream up this fantasy land. They think, oh, there's a world where there's H2O. It's not water like me and you see. No. It's not like this. Because that's how your senses, your sight, your hearing, your taste, your touch, your smell, that's how it interprets H2O. There's this other thing out there that's called H2O. It's not water. It's H2O. Water is the experience, how you experience H2O. Well, I'm telling you, look, I've never seen this thing H2O. That's coming out of your mind. That's theoretical. That's a dream you have in your mind. That's thoughts in your head. All I see is this water. Now, I understand you could represent this water with H2O, but materialist philosophers believe there's a world out there, an abstract world, where it's H2O and water is now objective. It's not relative or dependent on my sense experience. They believe it to be out there in the world. It's a world of woo. We tell them, look, that's woo. That's an inference. You're presupposing it. You've never proven it. You've never observed it. You cannot deduce it logically. you're taking a leap of faith. Now I'll tell you something. There's a lot of leaps of faith in atheism. It takes more faith to be an atheist. It's a larger leap. That's why I didn't become atheist. That's a larger leap, man. They're making such a leap of faith. Because there's so much to atheism. Like, I could talk about atheism for hours. Okay. Not only do they believe in this abstract metaphysical world that we have no access to whatsoever. If you read Kant, you would understand this. Okay, he talks about, like, we have zero access to this. That's what we ask him. Like, Kant, how do you even know it exists? We have zero access to it. How could we know it even exists? The world of H2O. It's an abstract fantasy. Now, can it exist? Some philosophers, I'll even agree it can exist. We just have no proof of it. We have no proof of it. It's quite a leap of faith. That's the answer in a nutshell. Dr. Shiz is here. Mr. Shiz. Sending good health to my boy Khamzat. To the doubters, he survived his first COVID. Instead of resting, he trained hard like a maniac while he had COVID and beat Gilbert Burns, Kevin Holland, former champ Kamaru. Recover, brother. That's from Shiz. Shiz, I think he must have recovered by now. But I also heard somebody was telling me, oh, he took a retirement again, etc. I hope he comes back. I mean, he's such an incredible talent. I would hate to see him end his career so early, but, health first. But I hope he's recovered now. Have you ever rolled with Khabib or Islam or any of their squad personally? And what were your takes always? Also, who would win in a grappling match? GSP versus Khabib? Could the Dagestanis deal with heel hooks? That's from Drew Mack. Drew, I have trained with them. Not Khabib or Islam himself. Khabib was in the practice room, but he wasn't rolling at the time. He was running the practice. I did roll with their crew. I absolutely love the team. I can't tell you what happened in the practice room. That what happens in the practice room stays in the practice room. So I won't comment in the least because I'll be totally disrespecting them. And I'm sure Khabib would be really pissed off at me and he would throw me out. Not because I'm not trying to allude that, because of how I did, but you don't talk about the practice room, okay? I would get very angry if they came in my practice room and then went out on the internet and blabbed all about it. It's an etiquette in the gym, guys. What happens in the practice room stays in the practice room. We respect one another. We don't, brag. If you're so good, go do it in the tournament. Go do it in the fight. Sign up. If you're that good, why brag about it? Just go beat everybody up in tournaments. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, there's a code, there's a respect, and I respect them, and I would never disclose what happens in the practice room. I assume you go to the doctor when you are sick, Coach. That's from Warren Kenner. It depends what I have. Okay, I don't like going to the doctors. I rarely go to the doctors, but yes, sometimes I'm sick and I go to the doctor, but it's very, very rare. Okay, and I don't recommend you guys avoid the doctor. Go to the doctor. Do it. I really highly recommend. If you have a doubt, go see the doctor. The last thing I went to the doctor for was to get scoped. Okay, north and south. If you guys understand what I'm saying, north would be through the mouth and south would be the, I was telling the doctor I was dreading it, but he's like, look, I'm 44 now. He goes, you got to do it. And the only reason I did it is because the sudden death of Elias Theodorou, that really hurt me. Like, it really, I couldn't believe he died at such a young age. He was so fit. He was so healthy. He was so vibrant, so full of energy. The man was fighting at the highest level. And unfortunately, he died, too soon. Just so quickly, I should say. Shocking to us all. And that really scared me. Of course, my trainer, Peter Sisonfu, Master Peter, he also died from cancer very abruptly. And I was like, I'm older. I should be doing the test. You're supposed to do it when you're 40, but I really dreaded the test. I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. And I was like, I have kids, I have a young daughter. She made me my daughter's like she's so wants me to live, for her. She's like I'll tell you a little story about my daughter. One day she comes home and she's like, Daddy, you lied to me. And she's crying. And my wife is coming in the house with her, and my wife's has this tears in her eyes, and I'm like, what's wrong with my girl? What do you mean I lied to you? Why is she so in so much pain? And she's like, you lied to me. And she's like, you're gonna die. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm gonna die? Of course, I told you we all die. And she's like, yeah, but her cousin had told her that I'm gonna die way before her. So my daughter's 9 years old, I'm in my 40s, and I'm like, yeah, well, it's normal. I'm a lot older than you. She's like, oh, I don't want to live without you. My daughter tells me, I can't live without you. I don't want to live. If you die, I don't want to. I'm like, whoa, 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 calm down. I calmed her down. I tried to soothe her. I talked to her. I said, listen, I'll make you a deal. I told my daughter, I said, look, I'm not going to eat any bad foods. I'm going to train every day, stay super healthy so I can live extra long, and we'll pretty much die at the same time. How about that? She instantly calmed down. She felt better. She's like, oh, so you're not going to eat sugar and junk food? I said, no, I'm going to avoid sugar and junk food. I'll eat it once in a while, but I'm going to train every day. I'm going to stay as fit and healthy as I can, and I'm going to live as long as I can so that when you're really, really old, we can go together. Because I talked to her about death already, and I said, look, every human being dies. It soothed her, and she tells me to this day, hey, Dad, you're not supposed to eat that. Hey, Dad, did you exercise today? She's still on to that. So I was thinking of my daughter. I was like, you know what? I got to do it. I got to do the test. Not to mention, I tell my wife, you see, that's how you should love your man. See how this little girl here, she can't live without her father. That's how you should come home. She'd be like, oh, could you imagine life without my husband? That's how she should be. Like my daughter kind of one-ups my wife naturally, just naturally. And I can tell my wife, you got to pick up the game. You got to pick up the game. I only have 2 women in my life, my daughter and my wife. You know, they got to pick up the game. But seriously speaking, you got to do the test. If you're in your 40s, do the test. If you don't do the test, man, it's just, you're risking your life. It's crazy. But the death of Elias really shook me, man, in terms of like how somebody could be so young, so in shape, fighting at the highest level, and sadly, you know, cancer is just, it's just a very, I mean, it's such a powerful disease. So I decided to do the test, gentlemen. And I got to tell you, the doctor I went to, I told him, look, I really, I'm dreading this. And he's like, don't worry, we're going to give you this medication. We're going to drug you. You're not even going to notice it. And honestly, it was like, I didn't even know I didn't feel anything. I didn't have any negative experience. It was done in like 10 minutes. It was all done. They took pictures of my insides. They're going to check me again in 5 years. Guys, do it. It's not that bad. Because I was telling my doctor who trains with me, he's like, oh, don't worry, I have a guy who'll do it for you. He did it to me. He did it for me. And it was like really easy. And I was like, guys, you don't understand. I'm a gold star heterosexual. I can't have this test done. They're like, no, don't worry about it. It's nothing. You're baking it in your head. And you know what? They were right. I was like being a baby about it. I was like, oh, no, I can't do this. But guys, especially if you're in your 40s, man, you got to do it. Okay, here we go. Hey, Coach, as divorce rates are so high in the West, I wanted your advice on finding the right wife and how you met your wife and find out she was the one for you. Thank you. May Allah bless you. That's from Jamie Landeros. I got to tell you guys something. When I saw my wife for the first time, I was in love at first sight. I know it sounds cringe, but I'm not that type of guy to fall in love at first sight. But when I saw my wife, I was like, oh, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And I was introduced to her by a friend. She was obviously very attractive. I found her to be attractive. I wanted to marry her. Not that day. I didn't propose to her or anything, but I knew like that's the girl I'm going to marry. Can I explain it? Is there any logic to it? There's no logic. There's just no logic to it. So for me, that's how it happened. It was like a lightning bolt. And I got to tell you something. I'm not the type of guy to fall in love overnight. Like, I'm not the type of guy. When I saw my wife, I was so enamored. I was like, wow, she's so sweet. She's such a, she was such a sweet, soft-spoken, kind person. I was like, wow, this person is really incredible. Lo and behold, I married her very shortly after. I married her very young. I married her quite young. Okay, so when I married her, she was still in her very early 20s. And we started a family right away. So for me, I was nearing 30. It was time for me to get married. I was very busy, of course, traveling the world, etc., fighting, training fighters, etc. So I had to get married quite quickly. You know, I wasn't like a kind of guy I wasn't going to plan a wedding for a year or whatnot. Like, I got married quite quickly. Now, I'll tell you something. You're asking me how to pick a good wife. She has to have a fantastic adab. What's adab? Good manners. Good manners. Like, she has to, I know for the non-Muslims out there, it's going to sound weird, but because we talk about adab, like adab. You have to be well-mannered, respectful, kind, gentle, sweet. These are things that a human being should aspire to be. Cultivate. If your woman is not mild-mannered, if she's not sweet, if she's not courteous, if she's not respectful, don't marry her. Please, guys, I'm begging you. Don't do it. Don't do it. She's going to ruin you. It's going to get old. It's going to get sad. It's going to get boring. It's going to get annoying. That's my advice. Marry someone with good adab. Adab is a well-mannered, polite, gentle, friendly, kind person. Salam, coach, what's your opinion on Bilal's new physique? A lot of his haters are accusing him of PEDs. Also, who do you think is going to win, Belal or Leon? That's from Talal. Talal, I haven't seen his new physique. Should I look it up? Let me look it up. Let's look it up. Okay, no, his fights are coming up. Let me look it up. Belal. Okay, so I'm not getting any new pictures here for some reason. Let me just... These are old pictures that looks pretty normal. Hold on. Let me type in new physique. No, these are all like action shots. I don't know why. I'm not finding it. Guys, I haven't seen his new physique, but what can I say? Look, I have no idea. I'd have to see. All that's coming up is old fights. Okay. Who do I got, guys? I'm not gonna pick this fight. Okay, I'm not picking. I know both individuals. I've trained with Belal Muhammad in the past. I'm a big fan of both guys. I don't want to pick on this one. I have to see those guys next week. I'm gonna be in England, so I don't want to bump into the guy I didn't pick, and I just don't want that. Okay, I don't think they would take it back in a negative light, but I just still don't even want to go there. Do you have any knowledge of Russia, Soviet Union, USSR ended in 1989 or 1990? I believe. Was Russia back then dominant, especially in space? ? Yuri Gagarin, first astronaut to reach space. That's from Shiz. Shiz. The first people to go out of space were the Russians, yes, but that's because they sacked Berlin. When they sacked Berlin, they got all the top secret files of the Germans. The Germans were trying to burn them. They're trying to get rid of them, but they couldn't get rid of all of them. A lot of the science that Russia developed was on the backs of the Germans. Now, the Germans were the first people to send human beings to the edge of space. Now, sadly, they used Jewish people. Okay, so they sent... There's documentaries on this. Okay, I'm not making this up. I know it sounds outrageous. A lot of people don't like to talk about it because it's so cruel. It's so cruel. But a lot of our science comes from... I know it's disturbing. It's very disturbing. It's sad and absolutely disgusting. But experiments on human beings. We know a lot of horrible things because the Germans at that time were incredibly viciously cruel, the Nazis. And they experimented on human beings, and those human beings, their subjects were their perceived worst enemies, which were Jewish people. And they had various technologies. One of the technologies they were developing was a type of ship, a spaceship, or call it like an airplane that almost nears space. And it was supposed to ricochet off the air. So like, you know, when you skip rocks on the water? It was supposed to go almost into outer space and ricochet on the atmosphere so it can bomb the US. It can bomb the North Americans without having to refuel. So it just kind of skips over the atmosphere and bombs, and can come back to Germany, reload, and do it again. Because one of the major problems was for bringing the US into the war was it was too far away to bomb. It was too far away to attack. You'd have to fly there, refuel, fly there, refuel, then bomb them. It was logistically impossible. So the Germans they had many plans for the US. They wanted to attack the US. One of them was they were trying to develop a craft that can fly so far, not needing to refuel. Yeah, there's so many documentaries on the innovations of the Germans. The Germans were even trying to build planes made out of wood, so they can have more materials to build more planes. It was just an insane level of thinking outside the box. The German people at the time were the most sophisticated scientifically and technologically. At the time, they were the most sophisticated technologically and scientifically. And the Russians, after sacking them, had a supernova of science. What about Billy Carson, coach? You still haven't given your opinion on Anunnaki theories, perfect marriage of science and religion. Who's Billy Carson again? Let me look that up. Sounds familiar. We talked about this in last podcast. Let me check this out. Billy Carson. Who's Billy Carson again? The divine feminine, the perfect balance, divine feminine and masculine. Oh boy, I don't think I'm going to like this. Oh yes, this gentleman. I didn't listen to his stuff. Lies in the Bible. The Bible is full of lies. The truth will terrify you. That's from Billy Carson. Came out a day ago. Wow, look at this guy. He's on Joe Rogan's show, was he? Billy Carson is even dumber than Terrence Howard. That's from Professor Dave Explains. The Anunnaki and Atlantis. Yeah, I did listen to a little bit of this guy. I remember you guys brought this guy up. God is mistranslation. Billy Carson suggests the Bible has hidden secrets and misinformation. Goodness gracious. Why we focus on the negative? Billy Carson and Dr. Daniel Amen. Oh boy. You guys are going to make me listen to this stuff? Danica Patrick, pretty intense, full episode Billy Carson. Oh boy. Billy Carson shares traumatic alien confrontation story. Oh my goodness. Shocking brain scan results with Billy Carson. They lied to us about Jesus. All right, guys. I got to do it. I'm going to save it to my watch later and I'll have a listen. Billy Carson. God, I hope he's better than Howard Terrence. What's the other guy's name? The other whack job? Terrence Howard. Excuse me. I remember I was shooting a Juji Club video. We were shooting like me and Neil. And Neil's like, oh, coach, you got to listen to the podcast. I'm like, which one? Terrence Howard. And I was like, what? And Neil Shepard. He's in all my videos, right? He's my uke. Oh my God. I'm like, Neil, if it's not good, if it's like really BS, I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna put the pain on you. And we're laughing and we're joking around, but I was like, dude, don't make me go and watch this guy's videos if it's not like legit. Anyways, I listened to his videos. Complete, utter nonsense. Look at what he says. Listen to what he says. He says, planets. Where do planets come from? Look at the human body. Where does your excrement come out from? Oh, well, it comes out from the middle of your body. Well, that's where the planets come from other planets out of the middle. Like something absurd, something similar. This is what we call in philosophy a false analogy. And I'm just paraphrasing now because obviously when he said that, I rolled my eyes. Well, hold on, let me find it. Let's do him justice. Okay, let's look at this stuff. I can't believe people are even persuaded by him. Where planets come from. This is what we call in philosophy a false analogy. Okay, we're going to talk about it right now. Let's do some education. Okay, here we go. Hold on a second, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm going to blow this up on screen because I'm a button-pushing extraordinaire wannabe. All right, Terrence Howard. Where planets come from. All right, gentlemen, let's look at this craziness that's sweeping the internet. Can you believe this? This man intrigues people. It's quite amazing. Guys, I will go in the gym tomorrow and put the pain on Neil, okay? Just because he's making us watch all this. I wouldn't even know who Terrence Howard, or whatever his name is. I wouldn't even know he exists. I wouldn't even know of his existence if it wasn't for Neil Shepard, my uke. The man must be punished. All right, here we go.
This is rebuilding the planet Saturn.
Oh no, do I have the wrong one? Oh. Come on, man. Okay. Is it working?
Go ahead.
Hold on a second, guys. Give me 1 second. I got a button push extraordinaire maneuver again. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Voilà, as they say en français. Look at this. I don't even know how I did it.
Time for a new laptop. You know what's going on. They do not want you. We're about to kill gravity. We're about to kill their god, gravity, and they don't want that. Here we go. Here we go. From the beginning.
And you'll see that you get the surface of the sphere on the inside with the heavier particles. So the colors.
Are you basically saying? Is this saying that you guys could recreate planets?
Yes, this is a particle simulation of the physics involved in making up the planet Saturn. Wow. Like all the. Yeah. So the heavier particles are creating the red and the green here where the hexagon is, and those are the heavier ones creating the shell of the planet. And then the outside are lighter particles that are fluid that's creating the counter rotation of the atmosphere of Saturn, like we observe scientifically. And the red ones in the middle here are where the magnetic field is strongly polarized at the north and south poles, which gives you aurora borealis.
Now, I have a question. Now, does this mean that you would be able to control what kind of atmosphere the planet has?
Okay, guys, hold on. I'm going to pause it here a second. Okay, guys, first of all, that was just shop talk. Okay, I'm not saying that the guy talking wasn't it's shop talk to us, right? I could barely hear what he was saying, and he was using technical terms. I want the one where he talks about, like, planets come out of your belly button. Like like out of the belly button of the planet. Hold on. How planets were actually made. Well, that's because that's not the clip I was hearing. Hold on. Is it this one? Let's see.
This is rebuilding the planet Saturn.
Particles are
Because I'd have to go through this. I'd have to search the terms. Anyways, there was one where he said something so ridiculous. I can rebuild Saturn without gravity. 1 × 1 = 2. Wow, that one's amazing. Wow. If one is this one I remember, he says, if 1 is a multiplier, how can you get 1? If you multiply 1 with 1, 1 is a multiplier. It's supposed to add you. So 1 × 1 = 2. I have a glass here, right? How many times do I have this glass? I have it 1 time. I have it 1 time. If I had it 2 times, I would have 2 of them. How many times do I have this 1 glass? I have it once. How many computers do I have? I have it once. How many times do you have it? Once. If I had a computer times 2, I'd have 2 of them. How many times do you have it? I have it twice. It's true by definition. It's really ultra simple. He's confusing 1 × 1 with 1 + 1. You can't make this up. The guy set it up. It's just insane. It's pure insanity. I can't believe people are actually persuaded by him. It's just insane. But there was one clip I heard because I just clicked on one of his clips because Neil was telling me, and it was like, planets come out of other planets' stomach, like their belly button, kind of like where it comes out of your body. You know, stuff comes out of your body from the middle, right? So that's where it comes out from the planet. And in philosophy, we call this a false analogy. Just because it's true of one thing doesn't mean it's true of another. It's completely irrelevant. They're completely disconnected. Anyways, madness. Big fan, coach. I've been dealing with so much pain in my right upper trap. It has many knots, which I self-massage. I can't even do bench press or push-ups without extreme muscular pain in that spot. Any suggestion? That's from Danny Farah. Danny, if it's been more than 6 months, go see a physio. Get therapy. I think it's because you're misaligned. Get strong and stable neck. I teach how to use the cervical traction. Use cervical traction. Okay, you can buy it anywhere online. You need to do cervical traction. If you're massaging and there's still knots, I highly, highly recommend cervical traction. It will make a massive difference in your life. I'll tell you something. I make my students buy the cervical traction device. And they all praise me for it. They're all like, Coach, you fixed my neck. Oh, it's so much better than before. Like, I can't believe how good it is. Like, I was like, yeah, I keep telling you guys. I've been telling you guys for years. Like, we do cervical traction, cervical traction. You have neck pain, cervical traction. I do it on a regular basis. It's really highly effective. Wrestlers have known about this forever. For us, colonoscopy does not pick it up. What? For us, colonoscopy does not pick it up early on. It's just a visual tool. Do a test called fecal calprotectin. It's a stool test, but it picks up any inflammation in the intestine. That's from Ali. Well, okay, I'll look into that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I should do a test called fecal calprotectin. Well, I just want to see if I had a cancer up there. You know what I mean? I just want to make sure I don't have a cancer in my stomach or anywhere else in my body. Because, you know. You should also check out their family and how they act. That's from Culture 23. Very wise, Culture 23. He's back to, you know, how you should pick a woman. Get to know the family. It's very important. I find it ridiculous. People just, like, they fall in love and they never meet the family and they just kind of like keep the family. No, you should know all about the family. Get to know the family, guys. The family is a strong indicator of how she was raised. What's lying underneath? Hey, Coach, in a no-gi submission-only BJJ match, who wins? Between Nikki Ryan and Mikey Musumeci. That's from Ray Ray. Ray Ray, that's a very good question. Nikki Ryan's bigger. He knows everything Musumeci does. I'll pick Nikki. But that's a tough one. I popped my knee pulling my foot in rubber guard and I hurt my LCL. Will strong and stable knees help? That's from Smoose. Smoose, I have a exercise in there called the grappler's stretch. And it's exactly for that, okay? You have to see the video. It's absolutely 100% relevant to what you're asking me. Believe me, I've been there, okay? So it's fixable. Check out Strong and Stable Knees. I promise you. Use promo code, guys. Use level up 50 off, guys. It's on the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. Get 50% off absolutely anything on jujiclub.com. It's a gold mine for martial artists and fitness enthusiasts. Goonrock, thank you very much. You're a gentleman and a scholar. This is from Hassan. Hassan asks, how did Igor Vovchanchyn compete as a heavyweight despite being short? Why don't we see shorter heavyweights? Guys, have you ever seen Igor Vovchanchyn? He's one of the greats. Igor Vovchanchyn. Now, you are a serious Vovchanchyn versus Mark Kerr. You are a serious connoisseur of MMA, my friend. Let me tell you something. Igor Vovchanchyn looks like a little blob, okay? Like a little blob. Hold on a second. Igor Vovchanchyn looks like a little blob of, I don't know what, okay? Fill in the blank. He beat Mark Kerr twice. Mark Kerr is the smashing machine. Actually, The Rock is doing a movie, The Life of Mark Kerr. Let's watch this, okay? Now that my button pushing skills have become, so advanced. There was a time and place where Mark Kerr was considered to be better than Coleman, and Vovchanchyn beat him twice. I'm going to fast forward here because, believe me, he puts it on him quite a bit here. Okay. Let's see here if he's able to scramble up. No. Mark Kerr stops him again. He's going to beat Mark Kerr, I think, through a cut, but then they have a rematch. Vovchanchyn. Huge win for Vovchanchyn. Guys, how was Vovchanchyn so successful at such a short stature in a heavyweight division? I would tell you he had incredible punching power. If you're short, you got to have incredible punching power. You guys saw, what was he called? Little Hulk? The fight we saw in the backyard fighting, whatever it was, the guy had a lot of power. You got to have a lot of power, guys. If you're short, you got to have a lot of power. Coach, what are your thoughts on Pascal's wager? That's from Kasim Husseini. Guys, Pascal's wager, for those of you who don't know, it's just basically saying, look, you should believe in God. Everybody should believe in God. Why? Because a betting man would believe in God. Because if he believes in God and there's no God, well, what was the repercussion? Nothing. But if you believe in God and there is a God, well, you're rewarded with eternal paradise. Now, if you're an atheist and there's no God, well, there's no repercussion. But if there is a God and you denied him, well, you burn in hell. Whereas the guy who believes in God, the one who believes in God, he never suffers that fate. If it does indeed exist, it may or may not. So Pascal's like, you might as well just believe. What's the point of not believing? What benefit is there? The bad part of this is it makes it seem like it's an insincere type of belief. Okay. And I think it's a very shallow type of belief. It's very shallow. He didn't think about it deeply enough. You don't need it. Pascal's wager is unnecessary. In my opinion, not in my opinion, I would say, look, I would say God is the most obvious fact. God is the perfectly obvious fact. That's how I would express it. So Pascal's wager it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. I honestly believe there's no such thing as an atheist. I think it's an atheists, and I don't mean this as an insult. I'm just saying I just don't believe that atheists exist. I think the reason why people are atheists is not because of reason and logic. It's because of psychology. They don't want there to be a God. They can't accept the fact that we live in a world with a God. They hate the fact that there's a God. They hate it. They don't want there to be a God. In their heart of hearts, they don't want there to be a God. Now, if we are a byproduct of random forces, imagine the world is just chaos, random forces. I'm a byproduct of random forces. Like Ghazali said, we're all puppets on a string. To say we are byproducts of random forces would mean that all the words I'm saying in this mic right now are a byproduct of random forces. How could the atheist worldview cannot account for agency, rational thinking? They're using reason to say reason doesn't exist. It's a self-defeating position. Because if it's true that I'm just being moved by random forces, i.e. gravity, and all the other physical forces, then all the words I'm saying in this mic make no rational sense. It's just noise. We're just making noise. However, you're having a direct experience of reason. You're hearing these words and you're like, oh, there's a follow through. There's 1 + 1 = 2. It makes sense. There's a logical continuity here. There's a logical continuity. I'm experiencing and observing the logical continuity. How could logical continuity be made by something that's being moved by random forces? It's a self-defeating position. It's irrational. Only a rational being can create reason. And we live in a world of reason where logic and everything makes sense and we exercise reason. Atheists want to reduce us back to inanimate objects. Because think about this, okay? There was inanimate objects being pushed around by random forces, like they say. And then at one point, they have to admit that matter starts to move itself. Okay, I see this boulder rolling down the hill, and it wasn't voluntary. It seemed like the wind blew it, and then the wind pushed it, and then there was a rain, and then the mud kind of slid out from under it. And there's all these physical causes that caused the boulder to roll down the hill, and that rolling of the boulder was not voluntary. However, when I move my arm around, I'm made of the same stuff the boulder is, but yet it's voluntary. When did matter start to move itself? When did matter start thinking rationally? And atheists have other major problems. Okay, they have other major problems in the worldview, like colossally massive problems that are maybe not super easy to understand, but they're there. And even atheists admit to it. They say, wow, this is a major problem for us. We have no idea how to get around this. And one of them is, how did matter start to move itself? If matter is irrational and we're just puppets on a string, like Ghazali says, which I agree with him, that we're puppets on a string, but I think it's God's string. They're saying it's some blind force's string. If I'm on God's string, if If God is puppeteering us, then okay, it makes sense that the words I'm saying make logical sense. It makes sense because he's rational. However, if it was random forces, all you would hear was static. All the noise, everything I'd be saying in this microphone, it would be just static, irrelevant noises. Coach, how about you show us one of the GOATs of MMA, Fedor Emelianenko? Can we watch a Fedor versus Kevin Randleman beast? Where do you put Fedor on the list? A heavyweight who looked smaller than most fighters and dominated. That's from Shiz. Shiz, I'm not going to play it now because, we've all seen that fight, and it's a crazy good fight. If you haven't seen it, all of you out there, you should check it out. But I think he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. Nobody had a streak like him. Nobody. The fact that he beat Krokop the way he did, in my opinion, that was the peak of his career, and in my opinion, made him the greatest heavyweight of all time. Coach, do you think Volk can stand a chance against Islam? That's from Robert R. Not right now. No, I think Islam has surpassed him quite significantly. I don't think he ever fights Islam again, and I don't think if he ever does, I just don't think it will go well for him. I think Islam has matured as a champion, and it's just going to be a difficult thing to beat him. My niece is 17, female, wants to learn jiu-jitsu for self-defense. My bro wants me to teach her first lesson before she tries a proper gym. What should I teach given 1-2 hours? ? That's from DJ Osiris. Teach guard, armbar, triangle, omoplata, the big three. Those are the first 3 maneuvers I think she should learn. Guard, and you should teach her armbar, triangle, and omoplata. That's my opinion. John Jones would rinse Fedor. That's from Flytrap. I disagree. John Jones at his peak, Fedor at his peak. I pick Fedor, honestly. That's the one fight I think Fedor. I'm telling you, Fedor, his punching power, his scrambling judo, because he had a very different approach to judo. He would collide body to body and then throw you. His punching power, even if John took him down, it wouldn't matter. He's gonna Granby roll into armbar. He's gonna roll up on his shoulders. He had a very powerful, well thought out system. I know he went on a major slide, but guys, he was older. He was beat up many times. Like, he was not at his peak. Okay, like he was fighting and way past his prime. Assalamu alaikum, coach. I've heard you saying that you're good in creating active income versus passive. What advice can you give to someone who wants to increase his active income? That's from Babu John. I think you're confusing that. You want to increase your passive income. Passive income is like you set up a business and it generates money. Active income, I think is what you mean, is like you go to work, you exchange dollars for hours. So I'll work 8 hours and my boss will give me $100 for those 8 hours. That's not what you want. You want to generate a business that's working and bringing in money, even if you're there or not. Okay. Now that's passive income. So look, I'm not going to get into it too deeply now because we talked about it in the past, but passive income, it's all about producing a product or service. If you can produce a product or a service, set up a business, and if you set up a business and the business can run without you, now you're truly a higher level entrepreneur. Let's call you black belt. You're a black belt. If you're at home chilling out and you're doing your thing and the business is still making you money and you don't have to be there, you've automated it, you have a manager who takes care of things, everything's automated. Now you just check in on it every quarter. You go in there for a meeting and you're like, hey guys, did you do good numbers? Do I have to replace you? Do I have to find a new manager? Or are you guys running everything proper? Oh yes, everything's running proper. The numbers are good. Okay, you take a look and you're like, okay, these guys are running a tight ship. I'll keep them on. If that's what you're doing, man, you're a top tier business entrepreneur. Very difficult thing to do. You have to be able to offer a product or service that other people can't, or not that yours is so good that people will pay you money for it. That's the truth. Okay, you got to make it so good. You got to make the product or service so good, and it's got to stay good. It's got to be good for a long time, because once it's not, you go out of business. That's also a very tough thing to do, okay? So you got to think about what product or service can you bring to the world. Hazy Bubble says, I missed his chat. Coach, I've been an atheist for a long time, but seeing the evil forces of today and the obvious spiritual forces in our world, I don't know what to believe. Which faith is right? How can I know? That's from Goon Rock. Well, Goon Rock, that's a very tough question. Look, I'm a Muslim, so I'm going to tell you, Islam, of course. But there's something deeper than Islam. There's the fitra. Okay, there's something about the innate religion. That's why I really appreciate Islam, because Islam tells you, look, go back to your innate religion. Everybody's saying something. Everybody's saying this, and we don't know. We don't know. We weren't there. Did Jesus walk on water? I wasn't there. You weren't there. Did you witness it? You weren't there. That's why I really appreciate the Quran tells us, look, you were not there. You wouldn't. The Quran is telling the Prophet, alayhi salam, you wouldn't know these stories if we didn't inform you. You wouldn't know. You're taking this by way of authority. You were not there. That wasn't a miracle that you saw. Okay, so in Islam, we have a different way of thinking. Because here's the thing, okay? In reason, we have something called circular reasoning. If I try to prove the Bible from the Bible itself, it's circular reasoning. If I try to prove the Quran from the Quran itself, it's circular reasoning. I believe the Quran is true because the Quran is telling me it's true. Well, that's circular reasoning. You're starting from your conclusion. Your premise is your conclusion. If I tell you the Word of God is the Bible because the Bible tells me it's the Word of God, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. You're using the Bible. The Hindu text says it's right. So why don't you believe in the Hindu text? The Quran has a different approach. Something needs to corroborate the text. Okay? I'm telling you, the Quran has a very different approach than Christianity. Christianity, look, in Judaism, they tell you, look, our fathers told us they saw this miracle. They saw God move. Moses came to the Israelites. He showed them miracles, and they saw God perform a miracle. And they're a nation that witnessed a miracle. This is what they say. Okay, I'm just telling you this because I studied it in university. This is their claim, and they told it to their children, and their children believed their ancestors. That's it. That's what it is. It's by way of authority. We take their word for it. Now, critics are going to say, well, you know, the book of Moses, it's estimated to be 3,000 years ago. Maybe some guy wrote it, wrote a story and it caught on. Maybe there was no Moses. Maybe there was no nation that saw, God move a mountain, etc. Like maybe this never occurred. Somebody just wrote about it and it caught on fire. And people started saying, yeah, my ancestors believed in that. And we just don't have the originals. We don't have the original guys who said they saw the story. We don't have what we call a first primary source material. Okay, like evidence from the first generation that they said that they saw. Okay. Now, in the gospel, they say, okay, we saw Jesus do this, we saw Jesus do that, alayhi salam, we saw him walk on water, we saw him cure the blind. Okay, who saw it? Well, Paul writes, I met Jesus, and he says, Jesus then, after his death and resurrection, that's what they say, he appeared to the apostles, then he appeared to the 500 people, which are many of them are alive today. And then lastly, he appeared to me. That's what Paul says. So people say, oh, that's proof. Well, you're using the gospel to prove the gospel. In logic, in philosophy, we would say, look, that's circular reasoning. We cannot accept circular reasoning. Because, first of all, we'd have to corroborate those 500. Who are those 500? What did they write? What did they leave behind as primary source material? Meaning, they wrote a book with their own hand. They wrote a testimony with their own hand. Even then, it would be questionable. Okay. Now, the Quran critiques Judaism and Christianity for this. Oh, you're just believing what people said before. You don't have primary source material. You weren't there. You don't have concrete evidence. The Quran is telling you, look, you're born with an innate idea of God, and this Quran is the reminder of that innate idea. That's what really rung a bell with me, and I understood that. Okay, so let me give you a really weird thought experiment, and then we'll go back to what I said. Okay, because it's going to sound really weird when I say it, but Just go along with me. Humor me. Okay? Does a fish know it's wet? Think about it. Weird question, right? The fish doesn't know it's wet because its entire life it's been in water. Now, I know if I'm wet or dry. I've swam in a pool and then I've been on the beach where it's dry, and then I know the difference between the two. When I jump in the water, I know I'm wet. When I come out and I towel off and I sit in the sun, I know I'm dry. Now, the fish never gets to the beach. It's always in the water. It's born in the water. It lives in the water. For it, water is nothing. It doesn't exist. Water is not a thing. Water is not a thing. Wetness is not a thing, I should say. Wetness doesn't exist to fish. In the fish's mind, I'm just imagine a fish with a human intelligence. Water doesn't exist. Not water, I should say. Wetness doesn't exist. To it, wetness is just the norm. Now let's do another thought experiment just to really hammer this home. Imagine the entire universe was a perfect 37 degrees Celsius. When I drink this cool water here, I notice that it's a different temperature because it's cool to me. But suppose this water was 37 degrees Celsius. Suppose the air in this room was 37 degrees Celsius. Suppose that the sun was 30 degrees Celsius. And like, don't go into, well, coach, that would off-balance the world and you wouldn't be able to. No, forget about that. It's a thought experiment. Grant me this one premise. Somehow, some way, we live in a world where we're able to survive in a world. Of course, if the sun was 37 degrees Celsius, we would freeze to death. But put that aside for now. Just imagine a world where the entire, all of existence is 37 degrees Celsius. When I put my hand in the fire is 37 degrees Celsius. I don't feel the burn. I don't feel heat. If all of existence was 37 degrees Celsius, and imagining that we could live and we could function in such a world, you would know nothing about temperature. You wouldn't say it's hot, it's cold, I'm warm, I'm feeling a little bit, how do you say? Frisson. Like, how do you say? I have the chills. You wouldn't say that. You would never say I have the chills, I'm chilly. You would never say that. Like the fish never says, oh my goodness, I'm wet or I'm dry. No, it has no such experience. You only know things by their opposites. The Quran talks about this. This is very profound stuff. Okay, now think about it. Imagine you lived in a universe that was completely dark. There was no light. We were just a bunch of blind guys walking around, feeling our way around, and like we had a sense of touch, we had the sense of smell, hearing, taste, but not sight. The whole universe has no light. Would you be able to dream up light? You would not. You would be like, what's the opposite of dark? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't even know that it's dark. For you, it would just be the universe. Like the fish doesn't know about wetness. You wouldn't know about light. You wouldn't know about darkness. Even though you live in the dark. If the entire of existence was 37 degrees Celsius, you would know nothing about temperature. It's only once there's a contrast that you now absorb both concepts. Imagine we lived in a universe that was completely dark and one day somebody lit up a match. Lights up a match and we see light for the first time. It would blow our minds. And then we realize, hey, wait a second, we live in the dark. Hold on, let's turn, and imagine we invent electricity and light bulbs and we're like, wow, do you remember that time we didn't know light exists? Darkness is the absence of light. We'd have all these philosophies. It doesn't matter. You would never know one without the other. Once a fish grows a few legs and it can start to crawl on the sand, it'll start to know, oh, wait a second, there's wet and there's dry. The both are never in the same place. It's either one or the other, or a combination of the two. But you can't have 100% wet and 100% dry. The two are mutually exclusive. It would make you understand both have to be experienced to know one another. I cannot deduce light from darkness, and I cannot deduce darkness from light. Imagine we lived in a world where light was infinite. Everything was glowing. Everything was super light. There were no shadows. You wouldn't know about darkness. You wouldn't know about shadows. You wouldn't know they exist. You could not deduce one from the other. Now, you'll notice that people say, oh, we don't live in a perfect world. We live in an unjust world. To know justice, like to know dark, like to know temperature, like to know wetness, wet and dry, like to know up and down, you would have to know justice, right? Okay. To know imperfection, the world is imperfect, you've never seen a single perfect thing, you would have to know perfection. We are born with innate belief. We are born with ideas of justice, perfection, i.e. God. You never saw God in the universe, yet you have a concept of God. Some people say, oh, it's because we deduced it. You cannot deduce such a thing. That's what people don't understand. Perfection cannot be deduced by living in an imperfect world. For me to know light, I'd have to experience light. For me to know darkness, I would have to experience darkness. For me to know dry and wet, I'd have to experience it. If I know about up and down, I have to experience up and down. Imagine a whole world where everything was moving towards the upward direction. Everything. If you let go of a tennis ball, it floats up to the ceiling. There was never any movement towards the downward trajectory. We will have no idea about up, or we would have no idea, we would have no idea of down. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds ridiculous, but believe me, there's a massive consensus on this in the world of philosophy. We only know things by their opposites. Now, how do I know God exists? It's innate. I woke up in this world and I know about this idea named God. And I've gone through this many times and in different ways. But one of them is I see an imperfect world. But how can I know the world is imperfect? How could I have these ideas of an imperfect world if I don't have the idea of perfection? And there's only one thing that could be perfect by definition. If something is smart but it's not all-knowing, it's not perfect. Perfection means it's the ultimate. It can't have a single flaw. It cannot be with even a speck of limitation or weakness. So that's how a lot of great thinkers have expressed this idea in the past. Okay, so God is an innate belief. You're born with it. Now, look at the world. Every single civilization had a religion. They just take that religion, they mix it with other things. Okay, so Zeus is the idea of God mixed with the idea of lightning, and then you have Zeus. Okay, Aries is the idea of God and love, and they mix that idea together. That's why I appreciate the Quran so much, because it tells you don't mix the idea of God with anything. You're born with that idea of God. Don't mix it with anything else. That's why for us to say God is a man or man is a God, I know some people like to split hairs on this. I get it. But that's to take the idea of God and then take the idea of man and to make yourself a God. When they paint Jesus in Japan, they paint him Japanese. When they paint Jesus in Africa, they paint him black. When they paint Jesus in America, they paint him white-haired, blue-eyed. But yet he was Palestinian. And it's ironic because I'm from the Middle East and I'm telling you, no, they're all wrong. I got it. But literally, that's how the consensus. The historians say, look, the man was born in Palestine. So I think that to say God is a man is, in my opinion, and I say this with all due respect, I think it's a thing. It's a great thing of arrogance, because we want to be the center stage. We want to be God. In the Hebrew Bible, it's like God is not a man. God is nothing that walks on the earth or flies in the sky or creeps on or swims in the water. Like, don't worship any man. The whole point of Judaism was we're not going to worship any man. It's crazy if you know the history of Judaism. Caesar wanted to put a statue of himself into the temple, and the Jews rebelled. They wouldn't allow an idol in the temple. They massacred the Jews because the Jews would not worship Caesar. And Caesar used to call himself the Son of God. Caesar used to call himself God from God. Caesar used to call himself the Savior of the world. And the Jews were like, no, we have one God and one God only, and we're never going to worship you. And then the Christians say, well, look, Caesar wasn't God, but here is the God. It's this man that came, walked on the earth. Now, I know there's a lot of variations on this belief, and I get it. I don't want to lump everybody in the same boat, but essentially in Christianity, they say Jesus is God. But the Jewish Bible says no man is God. And then Jesus, you say Jesus is God. So it's like you flip the text on us. And there are countless theories on how this came to be. Some people even believe that it's the Romans who wrote the text. They infiltrated the text. Now, I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying, like, this is how many conspiracy theories there are. How many theories there are. There are countless theories. In me, I just go back to the fitra, the innate belief in one God. I don't say any man is a God. Because think about it. In part 1 of the Bible, it's saying man is not a God. Don't worship any idols. In part 2, you think God would come down as a golden calf? Do you think God would come down as a human being? He just told us in part 1, no, worship no man. Worship no man. Take an oath. It's the first commandment. It's literally the first commandment. Your God is one God. Don't ever worship any other God. And the whole concept of one God is also incredible. We'll talk about that another day. It's another tangent. But that's what pulled me into the Abrahamic religions, because they were the religion of one God. Ultimately one God. So I think, Judaism and Islam, we critique Christianity for compromising with the Romans. They compromised and turned God, they put man equal to God. Now there's a lot of debate on exactly what they mean by that, but this is a critique from both Islam and Judaism towards Christianity. Don't make any man a God. Now, the Jews deny Jesus. The Christians worship Jesus. The Muslims accept Jesus but don't worship him. We're kind of in the middle. That's what I find makes most sense. Because think about it. Without Christianity, you would have never heard of Judaism. Judaism would have not been a very popular religion if the Christian story didn't happen. If everybody rejected the Messiah, Jesus Christ, Judaism would have been an unknown religion. Who made Judaism so popular? Who made Judaism so popular? The Christians. They're saying, look, we're the fulfillment of this text of these. At the time of the Romans, the Jews were maybe 2 to 4 million people. That's not a lot. Their religion was very secluded. It exploded around the globe. Knowledge of the Bible because of the Christians. They spread their religion far and wide. They conquered Rome. Don't forget, the Christians conquered Rome. Even till this day, we call it the Roman Catholic Church. The Romans are Catholics. The Romans today, the descendants, are Christian. First they hailed Caesar, now they hailed the Christ. When Jesus came to the Jewish people, says, look, I'm the Messiah. The Messiah is supposed to take over the enemies of Judaism, which is Rome at the time. They thought he's going to come with a sword. They thought he was going to come and step on their heads. They thought he was going to come and obliterate them, crush them, annihilate them. Yet he came with a soft message. Love your neighbor. Turn the other cheek. Treat children well, etc., etc., etc. And of course, there are some dark sayings of Jesus that people like to ignore, but they're there, and I don't think they should be ignored, but that's a story for another day. Jesus did say things like, I'm here to set fire to the world, set son against his father. And I wish the world was already kindled. It says, some scholars, they call it the dark sayings of Christ. However, nonetheless, the followers of Jesus did conquer Rome. The fulfillment is there. The Romans have been conquered. They all hail a Jewish man. It's incredible. However, Rome did it, in Islamic perspective, Rome did survive. It did hitch a ride on Christianity. It did infiltrate it by adding this God is a man stuff, because that's how the Romans spoke. Romans used to say that so-and-so is the God of the Son of God. So-and-so is a God. Whereas in Islam, we completely throw that out. There are no men who are gods. None. Zero. No man has any share in divinity. I find that to be innately true. Okay, guys, I'm going to end it now. We've been going for an hour and 54 minutes. Always fun as usual. Let's wrap it up with something fun, maybe something a little lighter. Wander Kerner, that's completely wrong, but I'm not going to go into it now because it's going to be a bit of a tangent. It's going to be a bit of a long... I want to end it on something a little more fun and light. Fitra is found in meditation or prayer, not philosophy, ? That's from MMA guy. Well, look, you're right. Logic and science doesn't show us the fitra. Fitra is directly perceived. Yes, I agree with you. However, we can use our logic to point to the fitra. We cannot grasp the fitra. No, you're 100% right. We cannot. But it could point to it. It can help you lead to it. That's why I always tell people, think about it. All of you, all human beings out there, we are a point of awareness. Are we not? To deny it is to be aware of it. You say, well, I'm not sure if I'm a point of awareness. Well, what are you aware of right now? There's a point where you cannot doubt anymore, right? You're saying, okay, I doubt that I have awareness. Well, how could you doubt if you don't have awareness? What are you doubting? Oh, so it becomes a self-defeating position to doubt that thing. It's glaringly obvious, even though doesn't fit in a logical syllogism, a logical argument. And of course, we can't put it in a test tube. We cannot detect it with our scientific devices. It's indetectable. It's only known directly. That's why I always tell people, think about it. You are a point of awareness. And that's a spiritual, and like it or not, it's a spiritual experience. Like it or not. Like it or not. Be uncomfortable with it as much as you want. Chemistry and physics will never, ever be able to explain the point of awareness. Never. It's beyond chemistry and physics. It's, how can I put it? Thomas Huxley said it best. He said, when talking about the point of awareness, the mind, not the brain, the mind, he says, it's equivalent to rubbing a lamp and a magic genie popping out. It's as incredible. Think about it. Your body's like a lamp and the mind's like a magic genie. That's what he says. He says, it's that inexplicable. We can't even begin to explain it. So why deny a spiritual world? You're experiencing it directly. Why deny spirituality? Why? Why say it's all chemistry and physics when it's glaringly not? Okay, guys, Roman Catholic is a bit of an oxymoron. Catholic meaning universal, Roman meaning universal. Well, that's not what Warren. I understand what you mean. Romans were anti-Christian, anti-Catholic, and now they became Catholic. In that sense, I would agree with you. On a lighter note, Coach, have you heard of the 16-year-old football player that won the Euros? No, I have not. Pat Shangoli. No, I have no idea who that is. I don't think we all agree on what the word obvious means. I think you're in a self-defeating position, my friend, but you just got to think about it to understand it. All right, guys, let's end it on a lighter note. All right, nothing fun in the chat. Should I put on Mini Hulk again? Coach, thoughts on Miguel Torres in MMA history? That's from Larry Bird. Well, I trained him for a long time, so for me, he's a very special fighter. So, you get a lot of biased dialogue from me, a monologue from me. So I love Miguel. He's a good friend of mine and a long time student. And he's one of the greats for sure. No doubt about it. Holy moly, guys. No more super chats, please. No more super chats. No more super chats. Hi, coach. I'm a newbie boxer. How do I gain muscle without hindering my ability to punch and fight? That's from Hazy Bubble. Okay, guys, that's going to be the last one. Look, you don't want to gain too much muscle, but if you box for too long, you're actually going to lose muscle over time, and you're going to have too little muscle on your frame. Okay? So I would recommend you do weights. You don't want to do so much weight that you lose your range of motion. If you lose your range of motion, if you gain too much muscle, which is hard to do as a boxer, but it can happen. You lose range of motion, you get more tired when you're boxing. Don't hit the weights so much anymore. Ease off and do like interval running, etc. Do something that won't beef you up so much. Weights are great. You can overdo them if you lose range of motion, but I really believe in doing weights. I think it's very, very important. I think boxers actually shorten their career when they don't do weights. Okay, weights is very, very important. If you're overly muscular, which is not the case for you from what I understand, but there are guys out there who are overly muscular, that's the only time I really recommend long runs. That's really the only time if you need to trim down in size. So I highly recommend you guys do weights, but if you feel you're getting too big, tighten up your diet, reduce your calories slightly, and do more interval training, etc. Don't touch the weights for a little while. Your body will adapt, especially if you're doing a lot of boxing. You'll get shredded. You'll get leaner. You get smaller a little bit. Okay, so too much boxing will make you too small. So you got to be careful. You don't want to get too small. You don't want to get so big that you lose range of motion. Okay, always look at yourself in the mirror. Hey, am I losing too much muscle? You could tell. Sometimes I feel like my shoulders are getting smaller. My pecs are getting smaller. That's when I'll hit the weights a little more. Okay, but don't underestimate nutrition. You need to have adequate protein. If you have adequate protein, you'll build muscle far faster than just killing yourself on the weights, okay? Protein is supremely important for packing on muscle. Guys, with that said, I had fun as always. Please like, share, comment, and don't forget to check out jujiclub.com. Use levelup50 to get 50% off absolutely anything. The promo code is on the bottom of your screen, and it's in the description. I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.